about 20 years from now. Groupings around these abodes number between 1 and 5. Everyone who inhabits this play, except the title character, moves about with what we would consider today to be a deformity in his or her step, if indeed she moves about at all. And not by some other means. If she is in a wheelchair, for example. We start with Gimp and Hitch.
Yogurt? You've got yogurt. Where'd you get yogurt?
Well, somebody accidentally left it unattended on their table outside Let's Eat Out over on Park Avenue.
And it's good? I mean, it's not spoiled or anything?
Took it in its original dish. Found some leftover press and seal paper in the garbage on the way home just today. Oh, it's fresh and good for you.
Plain or flavored? What flavor?
It's got cherries and cherry sauce on the bottom, just waiting to be mixed up in it.
How do you know that?
On the chalkboard outside the cafe. I saw another diner mix hers in.
Oh, I got 5 boxes, you know, those little boxes of raisins. Just got them today.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Raisins.
I could, you know, trade you a couple boxes for half of your yogurt.
Or 3.
If I get to mix the cherries up in it first.
You got a dish or something?
Yeah, sure.
On another part of the stage, in another abode, bum knee, falling arches, and wheelchair.
Limp told me that some of the Westies are actually starting to go into the stores and try to leave with stuff under their coats or in their pockets.
So dumb. One of us goes into a store, the uppers are going to be watching like spies every move we make. And the cameras and the eyes at the doors, how do they expect to get out with anything? Then they get caught, and then they get disappeared.
2 already.
That they know of.
Limp's the census taker of the Westies. He knows.
Westy's Jeffville is a couple of acres big. How does he keep track of them all?
Used to be an accountant. Back when?
Used to be a midi?
Back when?
When there were middies.
A house, half-acre lot, riding lawnmower, which he rode at least once a week, partner, 2 kids, middle-class model.
How do you know that?
We were neighbors. Our 2 families had lake effect tickets together. 8 Sundays in the fall, more if they were in the playoffs. We'd pile into the van of whichever family's turn it was in that game, drive 60 miles west, tailgate with meals that still make me salivate in my dreams, and take in the game.
So how did you become an Eastie and Limp a Westie?
Long story. You probably don't want to get me started on it.
Yeah, you're right. I gotta get ready to interview a candidate for my chair pusher in about 45 minutes.
Yeah, and I have a salesman coming in for a half hour about titanium siding
All
for
right.
our abode.
All right, I'll tell you.
I'll reschedule the interview.
I'll take the titanium siding rep. Let him come another time.
I was born into a midi family. Suburbs, 2-wheeler with the training wheels for the winter holiday presents when you were 6. My parents had made some transitions, but not others. They insisted that I practice my cursive every day, even though I had the latest voice-activated and keyboard devices from as young as I can remember. I had a dog, my own home entertainment center, and office in my room with age-appropriate monitors as I grew up. School was uneventful, pleasant, until...
The crippling.
The crippling.
The crippling. The uppers set that bar at $150,000 a year income, and my parents could only account for $143,000 a year, and so we were designated for the crippling.
Our family was at 145. Within 2 months, we went from the burbs to this Jeffville, and a difficult time walking.
They got real enthusiastic with me. Didn't like what I was saying and writing about the dynasty and the fear-mongering and the gap.
So they embraced the gap, and here we are in a Jebville, in the over 150,000.
175,000. They changed it last month. You can be an upper now if you can prove your legitimate household earns 175,000 or more net.
Net?
Net. Fewer uppers, mostly lowers. Jebville's springing up in sparse rural areas as well as cities.
Where do they get the uppers detritus to live off of?
Rural Jebvilles are mostly near landfills.
How do you know all this?
Underground newspaper.
Oh, come on. That's an urban myth.
And urban fact. The few times an upper sees a lower, who were they least intimidated by? The guy in a wheelchair, which they caused him to need and which they supplied him with. Not only do they leave their empty letter-freight cups about on their tables for the lowers to clean up, but they could leave their papers, those that still read them anyway, as well. We clean up, and we listen, and we scoop up their used papers, and we pass our information along.
And so the gap widens. So you and Limp were caught in the crippling. But how did you end up on opposite sides of town?
They took us right away. 143,000 a year. Joey Stutterstep was 8. I don't know where he is now. Rumor has it he shows up from Jebville to Jebville trying to organize a resistance movement with a few other under 30s. But I don't know.
Step is your boy? I've heard of him.
What do you know about him?
Nothing. I just heard the name along with some others. They seem to turn up like the shadows, and then you hear about them showing up in another Jebville 100 miles from the first one.
Any mention of him, no matter how vague, you let me know, you hear?
Okay, I will.
I don't know if I should tell Flatfoot, Tracy. Bye, Clinton. I hate those post-crippling names they gave us.
Wyatt, you want this Jebville to suffer another sanction of 18? Man, you can only swear at, not by, any pre-crippling administrations, if you have to mention them at all.
Where's Flatfoot?
A few abodes over, visiting. I think I'll keep the Stutterstep rumors to myself. Tracy'd get all obsessed with finding him, and then...
Yeah, so what happened to your neighbor, Limp, that caused that family to become Westies?
Well, they could prove 148,500. So they got an extension for another couple of weeks to prove they made 150,000 before the cripplings. They tried to disappear west of our burb, and there were found, crippled on the spot, and dumped into the Westy Jebville. The cripplings were crude, not surgical like ours. One of the boys, the youngest, got infected and died. The 3 of them have been Westies ever since.
Another abode on another part of the stage, dragfoot, ingrown, and clubfoot.
The Westies got a shed for their pissin' shit.
No.
Yeah, the uppers on the west side thought the ditches were not adequately far enough away from them as they had originally thought they would be, and when they planned out that Jebville. They're suing the consulting firm that designed it. On certain days, the stench just got to be too much, so they had fundraisers, got their people in Congress to tack a last-minute amendment to a bill that had nothing to do with public safety.
I think it had something to do with the expanding the chief's executive power to order the crude cripplings of declared lowers in certain cases.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway.
No, exactly like that.
How do you know?
Talk to Wheelchair.
Right, the underground newspaper.
Damn straight.
Anyway,
they had successfully bought their representatives and saved half the money they raised in case Congress didn't come through. So they got the money from the feds, got a backhoe out there and some building materials and a contract to dispose of the sewage in their sewage treatment plants twice a year. Now the Westie lowers can and are supposed to go inside to relieve themselves. Some of them are still scattered to the various dark places along the lower upper ridgeline on the west side.
why?
Protest. The habit of getting away from the stench of the ditch. Convenience if they're shitting illegally, not on the shuttle. Coming back from work, the Upper West quadrant.
How do you know all this,
I
Dragfoot?
collect garbage in the middle, don't I? Even though no one lives there, they do carry their newspapers to work. Even though they don't allow Eastie lowers and Westie lowers to work the same jobs in the middle, we still have ways to communicate. The Westies were gloating about their new shitter all last week. Pissed me off, pun intended.
By Clinton, you get caught cross-quadrant communicating and you could get an arm crippling.
Johnson, don't you think I know that? That's why we made it a point never to get caught.
Johnson, Truman, and Kennedy.
What's your language? You get caught talking like that?
Yeah, well, where do they get off having another indoor shitter? Where are the Eastie uppers going to do about our ditch? I guess the wind doesn't blow just right to disturb them.
I guess not.
The Westie lowers already have more land than we do, at least an acre more.
And more people, about 20.
How do you know? How do you know any of it? Sure, you grab the occasional newspaper from the bagel shop. What the hell are bagels anyway?
They're bread-like, round, and...
I don't care what they are. What I'm saying is we don't even know if what the uppers administration is telling their own people is true. You think they don't know that you guys who work in the middle are snatching the occasional newspaper? You think you get any news or lies they don't want you to get? Think about it. We know nothing about them, and they know everything about us.
I know what I see.
Yeah, Dragfoot collects their garbage.
They're public garbage.
They're what?
They're public garbage. Whatever happened to Lane?
Huh? I don't know. What's that got to do with...
There's a priority garbage collection system that comes...
Oh, come on, ingrown.
You're a garbage collector in the middle. Have you ever seen a rusted crippling tool or a mandatory packet of conception prevention pills? Where are they? The PGCS, the Priority Garbage Collection System. And who collects that garbage? Not their own. So they assign a few lames for both the Eastie and Westie lower quadrants. And they report to work and are never seen again. About every 5 years, more are called and lost. We know nothing about them, and they know everything about us.
Why do we wait on and bust their tables and collect their garbage in the middle?
Huh?
Why do we
Yeah,
wait?
yeah, I know, I heard you, but what do you mean, why?
We just do it? Who said? What if we didn't build the shuttle to the middle one morning?
Oh, Mike Clinton, will you...
Watch your language. You want to...
Well, Johnson, why are you talking like that? We wait and we clean and we service because we do. You're either an upper or a lower. Most uppers have 2 good legs, and every lower has something challenging about at least 1 leg, period. Questioning that can get us into...
Yeah, I know.
You remember 18? This is where we are in life. We have to live as best we can. The cripplings aren't only about limbs, you know?
That's for sure.
So what are you going to do? Stir up a revolution? No communication systems, no transportation except state-provided shuttle buses to the middle and back to wait, serve, and clean. Very limited pedestrian mobility because of the cripplings. No means of barter. Only leftover upper clothes and food provided by the state.
Hitch, don't be so ready to forget. Remember back at the turn? Okay, we were only kids, but cripples were that way usually at the whims of nature, not because of the surgical knife of the state.
But the attacks...
An excuse to change everything. We certainly weren't a perfect place at the turn, but at least we had 3 classes, not 2. We could buy, remember, money? We had the possibility of privacy, not mandatory open doors, makeshift abodes scattered in a field. We had the pride of trying, not under perfect or totally equal conditions by any means, but Johnson...
Shh. You never know.
That's what I'm talking about.
Sometimes a Westie lover who works in the middle will get a day off.
What?
Yeah, so?
You know this?
You think all lowers are crippled equally?
What do you mean? All I'm saying is that I've been monitoring this one Westie, and every 7 days, she's not there bussing the table she usually busses.
Well, who busses on the 7th day?
You know, Skip over the next lot?
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate it when the state gives us some of these cynical names.
You monitor any other particular Westie and you'll notice the same thing. Not the same 7th day as the one you monitored, but once every 7 days. Why do the uppers call that? What do they call that? A 7-day period?
A week. They call it a week.
Yeah, a week. You keep track of any other Westie lower in the middle and you'll notice the same thing. Once every 7 days, once every week, they won't be there.
And you're so sure of that, how?
Talk to wheelchair.
Oh, no.
Here we go again.
I'm telling you, she knows things.
Yeah, some amorphous, shallow, intelligent gathering movement.
It's out there, and they're getting ready to use what they learned.
Use how?
Like, revolt or something?
Or something.
So, Limp and you, how do you communicate over there in the middle?
You know, I'm not going to tell you, Fallen Arches. That way, everyone's protected.
It's the most wide open secret you can imagine. At least the knowledge that it happens, if not how. The lowers and the uppers, everybody knows. Nobody talks about it.
Just like everybody knows about this mythical Inter-Jebville under...
Factual.
Yeah, right. This underground newspaper. What's its name?
If you think it's a myth, why would you be interested in its mythical name?
Well, every good myth has an exotic name.
So what's the mythical name of this mythical underground newspaper?
I'm not sure that non-believers should have a name. That way, everybody's protected.
How's the brakes on that buggy?
Fine. Why?
They would handle a good shove down that hill that the chairlift is on, the hill that goes down to the shuttle bus stop.
I don't know. It's pretty steep.
Two of you would have to get back there and push me against my will first. You'd be surprised at things I can do with this thing. And you'd never had the occasion to witness my upper body strength.
Oh, well. Two of us against a severely disabled person?
Send the kettle to the pot. Other able hotshots.
So what's its mythical name, this mythical underground newspaper?
Yeah. What's its name?
What about all protected?
You want to be protected from that hill?
Okay, all right, here it is. You ready?
Ready, for Clinton's sake.
Language. It's called Cripple This.
Suddenly, from the upstage shadows, the man comes stumbling to down center. He comes in backwards and falls down at stage center with his back to the audience. There's something about this entrance, even though he trips over a Jebville inhabitant or two on the way in, that makes it clear that this stranger to this Jebville has not been subjected to the crippling or the vagaries of nature that would cause him to walk with difficulty.
What's the matter with you?
Come crashing in here like you have no one but yourself to think about.
Who do you think you are?
I'm sorry. They chased me. I didn't know where I was going. I was only trying to get away from them. It seemed dark over here from the other side of the ridge, behind all those trees. I didn't see any fire or lights. I was only trying to get away from them. I was just trying to escape.
Escape?
The East Side Uppers who were chasing me.
Chasing you?
Yes,
How did you escape?
I ran.
Ran?
Yes, I ran. Pretty fast. I ran track in high school a few years back. The sprints.
Ran?
Yes, I told you I ran away from them.
Ran?
Yes, I told you I ran away from them. They were chasing me. I don't know what they were going to do to me, but they were angry. And I was afraid.
Stand up.
What?
Stand up.
Well, okay.
You see that tree stump over there?
Yeah.
Run to it, touch it, then walk back here at a good clip.
What the?
Do it.
They tired me out some chasing me, but I'll give it a try.
Do it.
The stranger runs off on two good legs. The Jebville inhabitants watch him intently as he disappears, look off upright as he completes his run to the offstage stump, apparently touches it, turns around, and walks back down the same but wider swath to the center. The Jebville inhabitants scatter, amazed, confused, and transfixed. For the first time, we see him from the front.
There.
Why did you come here?
Why?
Yeah, why?
I told you why. They were chasing me.
But why here?
What do you mean, why here?
Why here?
Well, it looked dark until I got here, and I was afraid, and they were angry. So I ran as fast as I could, considering how dark it was. And then quite suddenly it seemed I was here.
So you just ended up here by accident on your two good legs.
Well, yes, by accident, if you believe in accidents. My two good legs. I told you I ran sprints in school. Stayed in shape. I don't want to pay big health care bills. Don't want to dip below the 175 net.
What I tell you.
Okay, all right.
What do you mean if you believe in accidents?
I don't. I don't know why I came crashing in here, but I don't think it just happened. You certainly don't know why I'm here. I could have been sent by the East Side Uppers, or even the administration for all you know. I'm not, but I could be.
We have ways of knowing.
What the Uppers want you to know, let you know, make sure that you know.
How do you know what we do or do not know, and where and how we get our information?
I'm an Upper, obviously. Was on the East Side Upper Council.
Was?
Why are they chasing you?
Well, you see, the answers to those two questions are connected, aren't they?
Are they?
Of course they are.
If you're not an upper spy sent here to...
To what?
To spy on us.
Why?
To find out what we're thinking.
How we live our lives.
Whether we're discontented.
Of course you're discontented. Who would want to live like this? Especially when they're old enough to remember a different way of living. Lights and indoor plumbing and schools, and more than one set of clothes.
What do you know about it? Have you ever even been in a Jebville before now?
No, I haven't.
Then how do you get to have an opinion?
You think it's all clear cut? My brother is a West Side lower. Couldn't prove $175,000 a year net. He and his partner and two kids were shipping right off to the surgical center, crippled, and made into West Side lowers overnight.
How do you know how they live?
I worked in the middle.
Doing what?
I wrote books, a magazine column, the occasional screenplay. I had an office in the middle.
So what does that teach you about us?
The communication that goes on in the middle, it's incredible. What do you... Oh, come on, you think we don't know that West Side lowers communicate with East Side lowers? Has it ever resulted in anything more than the West Side lowers gloating over the new indoor toilets? Why would we care?
But there are laws against
Of course there are laws against it. As long as you think you're successfully breaking them, and as long as we know you think you're successfully breaking them, that's enough to keep you satisfied and subjugated. Why would we care?
Yeah, but how does that give you any insight into how we live?
Communication is not only amongst the lowers. My brother and
But
I...
that's impossible. We would have figured it out. The other uppers would have...
Well, you obviously haven't figured it out. And the uppers just recently discovered that my brother and I communicate when we were both in the middle.
How long?
What?
How long have you and your brother been communicating?
About 4 years?
4 years. I would have noticed. I've been studying, sort of, communications in the middle ever since I've been there. About the same amount of time. And though I recognize you vaguely, I never suspected you of communicating with any lowers.
I recognize you. And I've been amused by watching you and your friend, the West Side Lowers, converse. Most of the time I couldn't make out exactly what you were telling each other. Your language is quite different than my brother's and mine. But communicating is communicating. And I was often able to make out the gist of what you were saying.
Which was?
Comparing living conditions in the East Jebville to living conditions in the West Jebville. Am I right? People have to communicate. And try as they might, the uppers are a long way from pure. Some of us are going to have lower brothers. We're going to be curious. They turn a deaf ear, so to speak, to lowers communicating with each other. But I don't think that they'd ever had confirmed until a few days ago that uppers might be communing with lowers, that lowers might be conversing with uppers. We could see how that could lead to an upheaval. It's easy to deal with the offending lower, but they have no experience in dealing with an upper who might have any interest in communicating with a lower.
What about your brother?
He's very clever. He never put himself in a situation where it was obvious that I was communicating with him in particular, or that he was speaking to me. Always in a group of people, usually a mixed group of uppers and lowers. Always anonymous. I have high hopes that they'll never discover him.
How did they discover you?
Council meetings.
Council meetings?
I'd bring up questions, mostly about the Jeb bills.
What kind of questions?
How many people to an abode, matters of food and clothing, how much land for how many inhabitants, that sort of thing.
Why? Why were you asking these questions about Jebvilles at Upper Town Council meetings?
Do you mean, why did I tell them I was asking these questions about Jebville, or why did I ask them?
Both.
I told them that I wanted more information before voting on the occasional Jebville matter that came before us. How much clothing, food, shelter, and land we allocate, how strict we should be about infractions in the middle.
When the next draft for the priority garbage collection system will be?
The what?
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. But only since I got on council a couple of years ago. Well, how do you know?
We know things.
Yeah. Well, I'd ask these questions whenever a Jebville matter would come up. They're proposed and seconded before the public meeting takes place. There's not supposed to be any discussion. Just vote the way you're supposed to and get on to the next already decided upon matter. But I'd keep asking these pesky questions.
Why? Really?
Because my brother's in a Jebville. And I wanted the council to have more than a fleeting thought about proposal number 3 on tonight's 20-minute perfunctory agenda.
So they got so annoyed with your pesky questions that they got a posse together and chased you?
Yes, actually. Questions are revelatory of what a person knows, as well as what he or she doesn't know. After a while, they began to put it together that I had more than a third-hand knowledge about the Jebvilles. Tonight, as I was going into the meeting, a friend told me that the others had come early and were waiting for me, that I'd better not go in there. I bolted.
And you ran blindly, with no idea you'd end up in a Jebville.
All right, so I had an idea. But you really can't see our fires from the other side of the Ridgeline Road. The trees are so thick.
So you bolted.
Yes, I headed this way. And the deeper I got into the trees, I started noticing sparks of light. The middle is barricaded at night. The West Side Upper community is smaller in population per square yard and wealthier, and I'd be exposed very shortly. So where else would I go?
And now?
And now?
Blackout. End of Act 1. Act 2, Scene 1. About 2 months later, the stranger is now called Legs, dressed more modestly. He is respected and even looked up to. The whole Jebville is somehow turned into a place where the inhabitants care more about their environment the best they can. A new integrity about the place. A box or something that can be stood on and raise the speaker just a bit above the listeners. Legs is standing on this makeshift platform at center stage, exhorting to the inhabitants who are gathered in a loose semicircle around him.
And the uppers, a few uppers, came up with this insidious idea of the crippling based on an arbitrary standard.
What standard would justify this?
Exactly. There are no standards that justify the mass cripplings of people. Why? Why do you suppose that is?
Because they can. Because they have the money, and that means they have the power.
Because they fear you. They are terrified of you.
Afraid of me? What am I going to do? Kick them with my one good leg?
No, but you might demand the chance for a decent life.
How could I do that? And so what if I did?
You alone couldn't do it. But what if this whole Jebville demanded a life with integrity, wages, decent wages, the right to choose council representatives, The right not to be crippled by the state, no matter what. Schooling, just to name a few changes.
But all of us are cripples.
How many East Side Uppers do you think there are?
Twice as many as us.
Half. Half as many as you. Yes. There are half as many of them as there are of you.
But there's supposed to be so many of them.
Come to think of it, how many of them have you ever heard about being in one place at the same time?
They seem to swarm the middle when I'm there.
Well, how big is the middle?
None of us get to see much of it when we're there to work.
When does a large number of us ever get to be in the same place at the same time? Where they are?
Never.
We can be stronger than them.
Blackout. Scene 2. A couple of months later, the Jetville is even slightly more a livable place.
Legs suggested we could have nice little paths between our abodes, easier to walk on and more pleasant to look at.
Why? Why? If we're going to be doing the deed soon, why are we putting so much time and effort into our living conditions here and now?
It'll go more smoothly if we have respect for who we are and how we live wherever we are. We have a right to do what we're going to do. But we can't do it successfully until we believe that we are worthy.
I don't know what the magic moment is, but
We're starting to feel that we are.
Starting.
It's supposed to be a big meeting soon. Important announcement.
But when? Why can't we know ahead of time instead of a few minutes before?
And what about today, right now? Do you have important things you need to get done right now, today? Would this meeting be something on your calendar that you could probably come to, but before which you have other important things to do as well?
I hardly remember calendars before the cripplings.
Up on the wall. Well, we have walls.
Sometimes I felt tied up by them.
Yes, that can happen, but it also makes one aware of the preciousness of time, the importance of using as much of it as well as possible.
Yep, got it. You do things in time when you feel there's something worth doing.
And when you feel your life enough to portion out time to do certain things.
Like right against the state.
And when you feel you have some control over what gets done when.
Oh,
Over time.
2 washings in the stream in 1 week?
That's right.
Why?
Feel better. Smell better.
Bother.
I'm tired
We're all
of
tired.
sitting around,
That's what our lives are.
standing around,
Here,
hanging around.
we have our cliques.
Well, we gossip about the other cliques.
And we gossip about others within our cliques.
The other side of town.
The other side of our abode.
Until,
Legs.
yeah, with 2 good ones.
Right. The uppers give us these hideous names after our cripplings. We give the stranger a name of our own when he comes to us.
I make my way down to the stream and back twice a week now, for the last couple of months.
Hard.
A little, but I notice things when I hobble down there and back. And my skin feels, I don't know, fresh. And my good leg and upper body feels stronger. And I notice things.
Like what?
Things. Like about 10 yards away from the stream, there's another path that I never took before. And that path makes it easier to get down the bank and into the water.
I always wondered about that path. Never took it, though.
Me too.
Like, until recently, there were no abodes in this Jetville that faced each other. Everything in rows facing the back of the abode in front of it.
Helps put the Ville back in Jetville. We need to face each other more. We can only do so much alone. Each abode unit scrambling and scrabbling on its own for survival. Hitch, where's Gimp? When I first came here, you two were like horns on a bull, never further apart than that. Fallen Arches, where are your buddies?
We don't have to, do we?
Don't have to what?
No, you don't.
We can challenge this, can't we?
Challenge what?
How?
Yes, you can.
What?
Blackout. Scene 3. This is yet an even more dignified Jetville. Perhaps small patches of flowers have sprung up outside of some abodes. It seems most of the east side Jebvillians go to the stream at least twice a week. They make more of an effort to get around with the least hobble in their walk as possible.
They were drawn down by the stream. I thought I'd try 'em up here.
And it worked.
First thing I see when I leave my abode each morning.
Yeah, flowers are also the first thing I see when I leave my abode each morning. Right across from me, the person who owns the abode, what do you call that again?
Neighbor. They're called neighbors.
Oh yeah, that's it, neighbor. I remember before my crippling.
Many things.
Oh, I had them neighbors. They were friendly, helpful.
Yeah, mine always borrowed my tools
They do that sometimes.
and took in my mail when we went away.
And sometimes they do that.
And the lawns.
Lawns?
Well, they kept theirs neat and mowed. I didn't always feel like mowing mine. But I did because theirs was always so perfect. And a real pain in the ass.
Our apartment houses in the city were pretty close together. No lawns to speak of. Sidewalks.
You were lucky.
I don't like the lawn.
And now you're both in the same place, the same neighborhood.
No lawns.
No sidewalks.
The paths. Paths that the neighbors in the Jebville have created.
And flower beds.
And some vegetables growing down by the stream.
We'll be able to pick them soon.
Cook them.
Eat them.
Do what you want with them.
Remember houses?
I remember apartments.
Solid.
Crowded.
Warm.
Drafty.
Walls.
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 Fade out. Scene 4. A restlessness in the Jebville. The inhabitants of the east side lowers Jebville are preparing for the long-rumored big meeting. Everyone, even wheelchair, gets around a little easier than before.
He keeps promising us a big meeting.
It's going to happen.
When?
Soon,
What's it going to be about?
Our lives.
Of course it'll be about our lives, but
changes in our lives.
We already have changes in our lives. 2 trips a week to the stream.
Flower beds?
paths, I think I even get about a little easier than I did.
Me too.
How? How could that be?
Well, I don't know how, and maybe it's my imagination. But I think I've been getting about easier than before, too.
Twice as many trips to the stream.
Bending over to plant flowers?
Oh, come on. It's not happening. It's in our imaginations.
Scary, isn't it?
What's going on?
What's going on? What's going on? Changes, that's what's going on. I don't get it. I don't know why or how. Ever since legs.
Has Legs made it so you can get around easier? Has Legs made you plant some flowers by your abode? Has Legs made you start going to the stream twice a week? Has Legs made you, could Legs make you, force you to do any of that?
No. Okay?
He did those things, then we started to do those things.
The paths, the flowers, the trips to the stream, turning our abodes to face each other.
And I'm thinking of changing my name.
How?
Just change it, that's all.
Oh, but the uppers gave you that name, Wheelchair. You just can't go.
Why not?
The uppers gave you that name.
Yeah, you can't just...
Can't just what?
To what?
What?
Your name.
You're changing it.
To what?
Wheels.
Oh.
Wheels?
Wheels?
Wheels.
I like it.
It sings.
It's action.
It moves.
This is so strange. I've been calling myself by another name in my head for a little while now.
Yeah, what?
You ready for this?
Yeah, what is it?
Stride.
Me too.
And me.
And me, yeah.
Race.
Saunter.
Run.
Glide.
Stroll.
In the name of Truman, Kennedy, and Clinton, I now declare that we are no longer afflicted named, but empowered named. Stride, race, saunter, run, glide, stroll, wheel. We are new people.
Or close to the people we used to be.
We are new Jebville people.
No more hit.
I am race.
Saunter.
Watch me stroll.
I'll race you.
I think I'll just saunter over here for a bit.
Gotta run. See you later.
I'll just glide over here to keep Saunter company.
And I'll just take this all in my stride.
And my wheels are itching to spin. This ain't the Jebville it used to be.
We smell pretty.
Our abodes are pretty.
We talk to more of us.
We have paths for jogging.
We have flowers to see.
And to smell.
And now,
Now,
And now,
And now.
What?
Blackout. Scene 5. The inhabitants of the lower East Jebville are waiting for legs to appear. It is a short time after scene 4, only a few days. The sense in the air is that the time of the promised big meeting is here.
So today's the day.
That's what I hear. Where is everybody?
They'll be here. They want to make an entrance, look good, move well.
Almost time for the big meeting.
Oh, look at you.
And you. And you.
I heard he was seen doing his ablutions down at the stream about an hour ago.
Legs?
Legs.
Ablutions?
bathing, getting cleaned up and ready for the big meeting.
So, when do we start?
When he gets here.
And that'll be when?
When he gets here.
I hear there's big news.
That's what I hear too.
You don't know?
No.
You're right.
How would I know?
Well, you know, you and Legs.
Legs and I nothing. We talk a lot. I like what he's doing around here. It's a better place since he showed up. Because he showed up. But he doesn't confide in me about any big plans, if there are any big plans. We become friends. We think alike, that's all.
But they've got to be big plans.
What?
If not, then why all this?
All what?
This!
2 trips to the stream each week.
Taking such care in choosing from the clothes that the uppers leave us.
Paths between abodes.
Turning the abodes to face each other.
Flower beds.
All of it. Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, why?
Here he comes. Ask him yourselves.
It's time.
For what? For
Yeah, for what?
What's so big about
Why
this?
would you
Jim?
do all this?
Here.
Change for what?
You invited me in when I showed up one day out of nowhere. I have 2 good legs and you accepted me anyway. I suggested some changes and you tried them when you saw me model them. You made me a part of the community.
A better community now.
And we see each other.
I see.
I smell
Yes,
it.
it are.
Community.
We get along.
And see and smell flowers planted.
Why?
Wheels?
Why? To what purpose?
Like the Japanese detainees creating homes.
Still
for
a
Japanese.
Jebville.
It's still a great example.
This happened.
You're right. There must be a purpose to it all. And I believe there is. But first we had to spiff ourselves up. Not just the clothes and the paths and the baths. But we had to see ourselves as us. And not just his or her abode over here and that abode over there. We had to learn to care more about each other and about ourselves. Some of you had to go to the middle each day with a feeling of pride about where you came from and the people you were going back to. Envy of life in the middle could not be the driving force. Envy, hatred ultimately eats away at the people. We can't sustain ourselves on anger. It's just another form of fear. So we had to take care about ourselves and each other, about making life better, about improvements.
Then what?
Baths.
We've carved out a community here.
Okay.
Baths.
We can get around it.
We get about
Then
even
you
better.
get about better.
What
Baths.
next?
What next? What next?
What next?
You've noticed you're getting about better. Why? Why do you think that is?
We have more reason to get around, more motivation.
To talk to each other.
And to take that second bath next week.
Yes, important reasons. But I need to tell you something else. Something that will profoundly affect you for the rest of your lives. Something that might enrage you. I hope it will. Something that might cause you to act, for it is the reason I came here months ago. Something that some of you will not believe at first, but it is true.
What is it? Tell us.
You get around better because you're motivated. But no matter how motivated you are, if your legs weren't capable of getting you around better, you wouldn't be able to be as fluid as you were now as you compared to when I first came here.
Exercise. Exercise makes our legs stronger. It makes us able to get around better.
They didn't do it.
What? What does that mean? What is
They who?
They who? What are you talking about?
Go ahead. Tell them, Lex.
Look at your scars from the cripplings. Now look at any scars you might have since before the cripplings. They're different. The scars from the cripplings are superficial. Most of them are at the knee. Some are on the calf or the ankle or even the thigh. But they're all superficial with barely any discoloration.
You mean they didn't?
Only in the minds.
What's he mean?
They didn't cripple us.
They didn't cripple you.
Of course they crippled me. My scar.
I can't walk the way I used to, the way legs can.
The country is not all about Jebbills and middles and upper neighborhoods. Just this region. They created it all. The uppers, the lowers, the middles, the Jebbills. But they didn't have the nerve to physically cripple you. So they put you under, grafted bogus scars in your legs or feet, and convinced you that you were actually physically crippled. And of course, your legs bought what your minds were telling you. And even if you believed me immediately, you'd still have to work muscles back into shape. They're better already than they were because you gave yourself reason to use them.
They crippled me.
Yes, they crippled you and some others. They had to, they felt. But they weren't going to commit any more mutilations than they had to.
And we outnumbered them.
You very much outnumbered them. Now,
We can change this.
We build up our legs.
We march on them.
Yeah, we outnumber them.
We bashed them.
We incorporate them into our society.
After what they've done,
while your legs and minds become new, let's counsel together and decide what we'll do with their new health.
you mean we don't punish them?
I mean, I don't know right now.
I say they have to be punished.
What will that accomplish? We could start a new society from scratch.
They animatedly discuss among themselves as Wheels moves over to Legs, who whispers in his ear. Blackout. End of play. We have a couple of minutes if you have any questions or comments about the play. Anyone?
Is this a comment on Rochester?
Well, certainly the lake effect tickets is Buffalo Bill tickets. They drive 60 miles west, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's more than Rochester. And I wrote it in like 2006, and every once in a while it gets a reading, and there's a little shiver because it becomes more and more relevant, in my mind anyway, as I hear it read. Yeah?
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm the biggest Tony Nelson. I'm very interested in the play, and I understand you said you wrote it in 2006. I'm just curious. Do you think this play ever become a movie, an actual movie, where I can actually just say, "Wow, I saw that flying squirrel now it's a movie." I'm being serious. They're laughing. I'm being serious. Ain't no smile out of me. They're laughing.
I'm open to it. You know somebody who knows somebody?
Nah, I'm just saying. You guys got talent. You should try to,
Yeah, it's had readings several times.
Right.
I'm looking for a fully mounted production of it.
I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah, I understand.
it's hard.
Yeah, I understand. I just want you to know the talent is great. You guys did a good job.
Thanks.
And if I was, the head of the Tony Awards, y'all have a Tony Award. That's what I mean.